Okay, everybody, we are back again for another episode of The Coach's Compass. It's your boy, Coach Coop, reporting live all the way over here from Europe. Unfortunately, Jay could not be here with us tonight because, again, he's still in season, so he's got a lot of things to figure out himself. Remember, always hit that like, subscribe, comment button down below so we can continue to have this thing grow and continue to bring on cool coaches to help elevate the game and continue to teach others all across the world. But again, we have another super dope guest with us tonight. We have Coach Michael. Coach Michael is a certified strength and conditioning coach, holds a bachelor's degree in exercise science from Illinois State University. Michael is a Chicago native and has coached a variety of athletes in a wide range of disciplines across the country. While working as a sports performance coach to college athletes, he has been an integral part of both individual and team successes. His athletes include over 35 NFL players, 5 MLB draft picks, and numerous All-Americans, some even appearing in Pro Bowls and the MLB All-Star Game. Conference championship, bowl games, and national championship appearances are some of the finest memories as a coach. He has worked with the highest caliber of athletes in the most competitive programs. Michael's goal is to give his athletes every ounce of his energy, effort, and expertise. He teaches each of his athletes detail and proper lifting techniques, as well as inspiring athletes to be relentless and attack every rep in the weight room, on and off the field. So Michael, thank you for being here with us today and welcome on the Coach's Compass.
Coach Coop, how you doing, man? And any talk I've been doing the last 6 or 7 years, everything that you kind of just explained, I usually downplay it and I'm like, none of that matters anymore, man. Like that was the past. This is where we are now. You know what I mean? Like this is where we're on the present, all that backstory, all that information. It's supposed to be like, all right, cool. He's coached at all these different, Division I colleges, worked with a bunch of pros. But the main thing is being of service to our, young coaches, like you talked about. That's when you talk about the compass, and I'm Googling and looking up what you guys are trying to accomplish with this podcast. I'm being of service and being present right here in this moment. I'm extremely excited to dive in to whatever questions you have in front of us, so we could hopefully provide some nuggets to your audience, and in the end, hopefully get them a little fired up to attack their day.
Man, looking at your background is impressive, right? Also following what you're doing on social media and all that stuff. Like, man, we had to get you on here because I know you have so much knowledge and expertise to drop, but also just the leadership aspect and how you attack your day each and every day. Could you tell me how you attack your day every day, Coach?
Well, I think that's dynamic. Like and just a little background. So, right now I have 3 kids, 5, 3, and 2. And anytime you try to go on a talk, you want to make sure you check those boxes, right? So like the older coach, the young coach who has no kids, and then someone in my age range that is very dialed in with their time in order to make sure that they do what matters most, which for me is you're going to hear a lot of the times, like, and you as Coop, as we talked about before this, you got a daughter that really drives your why. If you delve into what you're doing, why you're doing it, and same thing with myself. Like I write down on my freaking journal every morning, like earn the title. I want to be the best father, husband, coach in the world. And then I have, my mantra, which is, standard over feelings, dominate the details, better your best, attack adversity. And you have to be able to that has to be like just how you live every day, and not just writing on the wall, as everyone has heard numerous times. So in order to accomplish that, I think preparation is a word that everyone uses, but it is very difficult to live. And so if I'm really dialed in what I need to do, so we had, this was a 12 o'clock call on Monday, right? Sunday night, even though you got a whole day of kids, like I had a line, sounds weird, but I had to get a babysitter for 3 hours, to make sure someone's watching the kids and it was okay with the wife, so I could, be present for this podcast, so I could be of service with different aspects of my company, to ensure that I could wake up at exactly when I needed to wake up and attack the day. So this is where I see some coaches kind of get lost, is you cannot be the best coach that you can possibly be unless you are selfish. You have to have some selfish time where you are working on yourself and you are sharpening your mind and you bring in the energy that's necessary to be of service to others. And I think that is, when I see a great question in our industry often is, do you have to be in shape to be a sports performance coach? And, is you check off different boxes, and it's kind of like any niche, right? Like there's a high school level, there's a college level, there's a pro level, and you'll see like there's different power lifters, right? There's different buckets that look differently, right? CrossFitters are, usually lean. That's honestly, that's kind of who I would want to look like now at my age.
Yeah.
But where I was going with that statement, and before I went off, and you're going to see I'm ramble a lot, is you want to make sure that when you walk into that freaking gym and you walk into that, the weight room, you are extremely present. And the only way that you could be very, very present is if you check that box for yourself. And then you have the opportunity to check that box off for other people. There's so many times, and just a little protocol I have in place all the time that I haven't, is anytime I pull up to the parking lot before I'm about to coach, I freaking clear it, man. It's very much like, as we've all studied different people, you should have just a bucket. I have like literally on my notes, as I'm looking at notes for this podcast, next to it, it's like speed, strength, power, leadership. And there's just names of all these different top people that I respect. Like right off the bat right there, I was thinking of, E plus R equals O, that Mr. Knight who just passed away, and responding and setting yourself up to clear and respond. So if we're going back to your original question of how do I show up, how do I attack each day? It's, I'm very selfish. And the reason I'm able to be selfish is through the preparation of outlining my day. So I could check that bucket off, that I get my fix, I get my high. Like I get the sweat in, I get the calluses locked in, because you'll see when those people are standing in front and providing the team message or providing the individual message, they're not connected to it anymore. And you could tell it typically why, because they'll go like, they just haven't lived it. They haven't visualized it before it's happened. And they just don't have a lot of experience in that role. And you'll see that sometimes is, you've played in the NFL, you played on a bunch of teams. You'll see that transition, like when an offensive coordinator becomes a head guy, or like a position coach becomes an offensive coordinator, and the dialogue's different now. Same thing, like as even when you ask your team leaders to get up and stand up and speak, it's like, whoa, all I did was just do the warm up really hard. Now you got to lead the warm up. So they have to practice. They have to put in work beforehand. Preparation is critical. Checking that box off, so you are selfish to yourself. So for me, every morning, like I'm reading, journaling, I shake up, and it sounds cliche that everyone's saying that. Sometimes it's not very long. It's like a 10-minute ordeal that I'm just making sure that I know where I need to be when I need to be there. And then I get my workout. And then of course the workout's like already, you have a big, a 4-week block. And then like we talked about before this, on Sundays, you're checking that box off beforehand to ensure that you make the small adjustments needed. And then every night before I go to bed, I have to look over that workout, print off the workout, make notes for myself, make notes for the assistant. Then you got to have a message of the day. Like there's so much like I was telling you, like periodization, like that's like amateur stuff. Dude, like 3x5, 4x5 cluster method, like wait, no, it's like, man, like I want to be like looking at your, like, I already know what's coming next. Like, how do you know what you describe your coaching philosophy and approach, right? Like, you know what I mean? Like, and that leads to connection. Like the environment is everything. And like when people are, I never want to be a part of a conversation, and I don't like to speak in absolutes, where it's like, oh, we do that. Oh yeah, we do that too. Like, nah, man, like everyone does similar shit, but it's of course all how you do it. And the reason that certain people get different types of results is because they have a unique way of connecting to that individual. They have a unique way of making that individual feel valued. They have a unique way of getting better output, right? And it's the same thing, like, I'll give a weird thing, since, growing up, like you're about to get in a street fight with another crew or another school, there's a fight might to happen, right? Or like you're about to take on an opponent and one of your best players is, questionable for the game. But then on like Thursday, he gets cleared and he's good. And he walks in the locker room. He's like, Coop, I got you, man. I'm good. I'll be ready to rock. And you're just like, oh, like you're just like, fuck yeah, like, yes, baby, like, let's go. Like, that is, the type of, the standard that you kind of want to be. Like, when you get in that way, it was like, Shit, like we got, like, I know this isn't going to be easy today because there's going to be a high standard, but like he's here and we're going to do that together. And that's the environment that you're trying to, and there's so much depth there and there's so many little details to take a step back and give, because I don't like to just talk in like general terms, and just to give you like some action steps is like before I start with any team or, for the individual coaches, any client, any team, I have 3 meetings in December. So if you have a football team, you're going to have, the returning badasses, the returning leaders. You're going to have them in and you're going to review the standards and behaviors and the expectations. And you want to set them with them. You want them to say that this is about us. This is about we. I am here to serve you. I can't get my highs. I can't get my chills without your success. So what do we need to do to accomplish that goal? And there's, I have like 6 different questions that we review and go over, just making sure, because every team's different, every leader's different. You don't know if, you don't know if they remember, 2 years ago, a certain team that they're playing again, that's their rival. Like, you got to hear their voice and then make those small changes. And of course you have like your coaching core values. Like I mentioned, dominate details, better your best, attack adversity, which leads to unrequired work and uncommon effort that creates a champion in life. That's what I will lead them through. But I change the motto every year to fit their voice. You know what I mean? To fit their need. And then the second meeting that we go through is we bring in all the team then, and I already have everything layered out with like weight room expectations, off-season expectations, and then trickled in there is specifically, I said I wouldn't say specifically the information from the leaders. So it's very customized so the leaders feel valued and heard. And you'll see when you're doing shit the right way, you'll get a lot of head nods like, hell yeah, like, yeah, this is about us. And you can see that they're visualizing, them attacking the task at hand. And then the third meeting, which you won't have to do in college, but a lot of us, have to do, is you bring in the whole staff. You bring in the whole staff and I even have a parents meeting that I have with, the team that I coach in person so they could hash out any questions. Because if you're in, the high school setting, you're going to have a ton of multi-sport athletes that you have to be extremely clear on of the expectations. And then you eliminate that as you earn respect from different sports coaches. I'm very fortunate that because you provide so much value, the energy is more important than the sets and reps. The energy and the environment that you create should make someone walk into excited, not holding their breath. Whereas, of course, they're holding their breath a little bit because they're like, man, coach is going to make me work. But where I'm going with that aspect is they need to come in there and be like, oh, I could tell Coach Cano that I have a baseball game today and he's going to adjust the workout beforehand. Well, during the meeting of the expectation meetings, we set like a 24-hour rule, be like, hey, if you have a game, you have to tell us 24 hours in advance so you could come see us, 30 minutes before the lift and the exact adjustments to the workout. So that's kind of specifically for that high school setting or the private sector setting. Where in college, baby, like you don't work, like it is, you got an 8-week segment in off season, you got an 8-week segment in summer. You don't got to deal with any, it is, full go all out with that focus. The biggest thing when you're coaching philosophy and approach, it's just creating behaviors and habits, living those behaviors and habits. So going back to my other ramble, is you're going to see this a lot. Should a sports coach be in shape? I think that like when there's this 4-mile loop around my house that I love to run nowadays. And when I see a chubby, out of shape person jogging, when I was insecure with myself younger days, you would find yourself like putting those people down. But now as you become connected to your purpose and passion, when you see those people, you're like, fuck yeah, continue on that journey, man. Way to attack today. Way to try to be your best. And that's what I always like when I see people asking, like, do you need to be in shape? Do you need to be jacked? Do you need to be fit? My approach is like, you just better be getting better today, man. Like you don't be drinking the pop. Don't be eating like, you can see it in their eyes, man. Like when you really walk into someone's eyes and like if they're tired, if they're fatigued, of course, we're always going to have a couple of those days, but those days should be so freaking small that those players should see you on fire. They shouldn't see you walking in with your, if they ever see me walking in, like I never, and that's part of my principles. Like I've never yawned in the weight room one time. And some people might laugh at that or they might joke around at that. It's just, I'm just very connected to what I do, how I do it. And I wouldn't, if I was an athlete or if I was a coach and if I saw someone yawning, like that isn't what I don't know. That's just not the way I do things, to be honest with you. So that's my rant on, coaching philosophy. And in those, they hopefully at least gave you a couple different pieces that you could patch together
For
or
sure.
cut out.
Now we ain't cutting out none of this, coach, because you're
Yeah.
dropping a lot of knowledge. But where does this dialed in mentality, confidence, locked in, all of this that you're saying, this leadership, where is this learned or gained from that puts you in this position that you're in now? Because the way you talk and stuff, like it comes from the veteran side of things, and obviously you've experienced stuff, but where do you learn all this and like kind of lock
I
in?
think, yeah, I think I was very fortunate that my father always had me around sports. He was a youth coach, nothing crazy, but he was very much like I was the water boy everywhere. I was always, hearing his thoughts through the TV while he was screaming at, I'm from Chicago, so big, Bears, Blackhawks, Cubs type of fan. And then, we had a talk outside of this in regards to, LeBron James' gift of, being able to jump high, being able to run fast. And I don't like speaking from this point of view, but I've been very fortunate to be able to like feel things as a player. And I've been able to feel things naturally in regards to the way that I enjoyed work. So like I didn't have a very difficult time of showing up early and working very hard, but I never was that guy to like put people down in doing so. So from that aspect, kind of uniquely found a way to like earn the right to speak. And when I spoke, it was from a place of like authenticity. And it wasn't from a place of like, how you get like this super talented player on your team that then goes nuts, step it up, pick it up. And you're just viral and be like, dude, you weren't here on Tuesday, bro. Like, what's going on, man? Like, what are you talking about? Or, you know what I mean? Like, so I was very fortunate to kind of have that initial upbringing where I was like, captain of the team from 7th and 8th grade, a freshman year, sophomore year, senior year. But I was average, like just a very average player that I would assume is like most strength coaches, right? That are really good, that are just like, hey, I love to work. I'm not really good. I can't make the, X, Y, and Z. Like I've mentioned, I was just a frat boy in college that partied his face off, just being honest with you. Didn't have any really background in this. And then it kind of, but I always knew, like, even in my exercise science classes, that the people I was around, I was like, these guys don't know sports. They're just studying books, man. They're like, these guys, like, they don't know what it's like to be in a huddle or in a dugout or the ups and downs of life. They're all speaking gibberish. Like, and they gotta trust me, like, I know like there's so much value in like a biomechanics talk and the proper progressions. And please don't please don't take that as an offense, but get in front of, 40 to 100 kids, look them in the eyes, demand their attention, make them feel empowered, make them feel loved. I've been very fortunate that when I started off as an intern at Texas A&M from college, my, advisor was Rachel Ellsworth, who just retired from Texas A&M. So she's been there for like 25, 30 years. She's a freaking badass. Like literally lived it, walked it, lifted, trained all the time. She'd make me give her mouth guards when she would freaking work out. She had that unique dynamic of fear. Like if you didn't do your shit, like Ray's gonna be pissed. You don't want Ray pissed.
Yeah.
And I had the best scenario of someone like myself as a frat boy who didn't take shit seriously, that when I got it to Texas A&M, she was teaching a exercise science master's class with like 30 other ex-athletes that were trying to get their masters. And I would sit in that class and we went over, it was like a master's class of sports performance, talking about logistics, periodization, how to fit X, Y, and Z. And then that allowed me to train on like a 3-day split where we talked about, how to program the proper speed and agility with that 3-day split. What are we doing on Tuesdays and Thursdays? And just open dialogue all the time. How would you fit if you only had 10 racks, if you had 20 racks, if you had 5 racks, this kid has this injury like that. So I was able to do that for 6 months from like the best of the best in the industry. So I really, really leapfrogged a lot of people, but that athlete type of workout I wasn't doing. I was a bro split and I never trained that way through high school or this. So this was the first time I was like, dude, everyone's kicking my ass. Like all these athletes who are, granted, I could squat and bench, but that was it. So they were crushing me. And that goes down to like one of my main beliefs in life is, you find yourself with your like hand in your your hands in your face, and you're like, dude, I don't think I'm meant for this. Like these guys are so much stronger. They all know how to clean. I didn't know how to clean. They know how to do step ups. I could like barely do, step ups with 95. I'm bouncing off the freaking box and shit. Like when you suck, it sucks.
Yeah.
But I was very fortunate where, the way I was kind of brought up is like you show up early, you ask questions, you stay late, you ask questions. And none of those other kids were doing that anymore because they already trained for 3 to 4 years in college. So like while I was like the intern and then I was asking these questions, hey, can you like show me how to high pull? Can you show me how to catch the clean? And I'm sitting there with the barbell, high pull, learning the transition, asking different questions, learning how to do the pulls, where like it was pretty evident that I was a little bit more committed than the other people in my class. There's a couple people in my class that are still great coaches, but at that time period that I was able to earn the respect from, that whole Texas A&M staff at that time that, when a GA spot became available at Southeastern Louisiana, I got the recommendation to get that next job. So like what I thought was, oh, I can't, squat 500. I don't know how to clean, or I don't know how to do the step ups. I don't know how to, do the proper change of direction. Don't know how to, create the proper angles, communicate any of this was really my edge because I was still working, the bar at night, still delivering the pizzas, but I still showed up early and I was asking all the questions that all those other guys should have been asking, but they just took it for granted because they already had a coach that taught them those things. So as you can kind of reflect now, Coop, if you had someone, one day you're going to have someone doing your podcast interview for you, doing like giving all the proper information, making sure that I have the background on yourself to make sure it's a elite conversation that, that was really, you have to go through these initial phases to earn the opportunity. So what I thought was my downfall was actually a blessing. And that has been consistent. And it's right now in my business I've had for 8 years, 180 Athletics, we have adversity that we're going through right now, some different ads stuff with Facebook that I know I'm going to overcome through these same type of lessons. So it's kind of where I got started mentally in that aspect of kind of flipping the switch from this is a challenge, but where's the opportunity here? There's a lesson here. There's a lesson here that other people are going to point the fingers at and blame it and complain. I'm going to take this, flip it on its head, find a solution, be better from it.
How do you use that mentality and learn from it? And because we look at nowadays in sports, right? The mental aspect is such a huge part where you have a lot of athletes dealing with mental health issues and the psychological part of training. How do you use the stuff that you've gone through and flipping your mindset and using all that to help train your athletes and make them better and connect with them?
One of the coolest parts when I actually went to like move down south from Chicago, right, is I was just a white freaking dude from the South Side. Everyone is 99% of my athletes are black and they don't speak like I speak, right? From the South, like from
the South, we different
Mississippi
out
and
there, yeah.
and Louisiana, right? So it was just like a master's class of shutting up and listening, master's class of earning. When you hear, like we mentioned Cooper's Cups interview or just recent viral post, right? Of never thinking that you deserve anything and you're consistently earning different things. And I think I was very fortunate when I was there and I was so young and I wasn't ready for that job that it was more of just personal skills of earning the respect from those kids and shutting up and listening to their voice. And after a while, they knew like that my intent was for them to win. And then that's what I think the best coaches are able to do is they kind of take a step back and they find a way to earn the right to, kick an athlete in the butt and want to pat him on the back. And when you consistently do that, and, when I have a nugget for people when they're like, hey, what's something I could do right now to like differentiate me from other coaches? And I'm like, well, the people in your life that matter most or the clients that you're closest to, don't reach out to them when they get the offer. Don't reach out to them when they win the championship. Always reach out to them during the hardest time. Always have their back during the lowest moment. Those are the people that when I reflect on are the baddest dudes. Those are the dudes that are like, whoa, And I've always had like 2 to 3 coaches or 2 to 3 people in my life that just knew, or for some reason were like, came from a higher power, that I was like, damn, like this person like really cares about me. Like, dude, that's impactful. And I always wanted to be that coach. I always wanted to be like, I know something's wrong with him. I don't know if this is the time right after this session to ask him. So I'm going to message him tonight, and that's just like I always put in twice the amount of work behind closed doors. Whereas most coaches are like so focused on the session. Don't get me wrong. I'm dialed in on that session, but I'm trying to earn like thousands of moments in the dark that no one knows about. And I don't tell fucking anybody, because I don't like in the end. And I tell my guys about my vision in the end. The end of vision when I'm with the team is that they're holding up a trophy. I take a step back and I get chills down my back watching them cry and hug each other and their success. Like that's what all this is about. So when you see me go crazy, when you see me go nuts, when you see me sweating and I'm, getting in their, getting in the grill a little bit to try to get the best out of them when I think there's more leadership that they're capable of to use their voice and give them a platform to speak. I think they need to see what you see inside them. And sometimes the only way they do that is through a ton of messages in the dark. And then it's, hey man, can you come early so I can talk to you? And I mess up often, dude. Like I fuck up so much. Sometimes I get too hard in people that I haven't developed that relationship yet. And when I do, when I when I call them soft in front of a group and I'm like, fuck, I fucked up. And I message them immediately. I'm like, dude, I messed up. I shouldn't have done that. I want to let you know that this is what I see inside you and the potential I see. And that's not me, man. That it won't happen. Listen to me. I know our relationship is still evolving, but I'm not going to let you down again. And, I usually have people on staff that I call like talliers, where if I really, get in someone's grill and push them hard, that they come up to me before the end of the session when we break it down and they whisper like, "Hey, Jimmy." And what that means is to, in front of the group, talk about their response. Be like, "You see, Jimmy, I really coached him hard today, and he responded like a champion. He could have just, did palms up, bad body language, but that's not who Jimmy is. That's who he's going to be. And I'm so proud of you, man." And so Jimmy knows because he's new here, right? He doesn't know the way that we do things. And I need to do a better job of not being so hard on him in front of you guys. That's my bad. Like that's my bad. And if I don't do that immediately, like I'll legit start the next session now with just being open and honest and humble, hopefully being like, guys, I messed up. I shouldn't have been too hard on him. But remember, this is always about us. This is always about hosting that trophy. This is always about, and I am not perfect, but the best coaches I've been around and who I want to emulate are someone who's just fucking real, man. Like I just want to be real as shit. And I feel like I think that's, you guys want to hear the truth and you want people who are real. So I'm going to be real and speak my truth as hard as I can. And I'm going to love you 2x harder. Like I promise you behind the dark, you'll get those messages, you get this. And you got to live that though, man. And that's a tough thing to do. And that's why, you kind of go back to that first question in regards to preparation. Like you have to have a lot of clarity with your wife and your kids so that you could get those texts and be like, "Hey honey, can I accept this phone call?"
How long did it take you to get in a position to like be able to tell kids like, hey, I'm sorry, like I messed up, or like be able to
Mm.
realize like the times that like you messed up and not be, you got the kid that needs a little bit more loving than the other kid that you can just get in their grill and get after. Because I mean, you said yourself, you're one of those guys that needed to be just cussed out at some points, and you would just go, right? Other guys you need to
Mm-hmm.
grab to the side, and like you can't do that in front of like a whole group. How hard is it to learn that as a coach, and how long did it take you to get to that point?
I think it's never well, I was very fortunate to be around like the best in the world at what they do. Like my last boss, Coach Bayless, who's won every game. He was, I know Urban Meyer gets a bad rap these days, but he was like, Urban Meyer guy. But now worked with Coach Kelly, worked with Coach Freeman at Notre Dame, and he's won every game. And he really just did a master class of love indirectly. Like he was so hard and so tough. Something I remember from him often was he always just asked, like, "Was this your best? Is this your best? Is this your best?" Whether you're handing him spreadsheet with data, whether if you're, if he gives you in charge of a certain segment, it's like, is this your best? And like the first couple of times when you start working for him, you're like, shit, let me go back and double check this, right? Like, let me take a step back. The best way that I would answer that question is when you see people who are like obsessed with just getting better and being their best, they have a unique way of having that mindset for themselves. Like they are just consistently consumed with getting better. And then when you're consistently consumed with getting better, they have a unique way of like humbling themselves in front of others, where they're not like standing on other people's shoulders. They're trying to uplift other people so everybody wins and everybody eats. And I think that I was very, very fortunate to work with so many great coaches in the football industry and in my time at that level, that I have just a plethora of notes. And you, as an assistant, or even as you as a player, and I've had bad bosses, don't get me wrong, and you learn a lot from those bad bosses, and you take those notes and be like, that's not how I want to make other people feel. In the same way, like, I promise you today, like, I will mess something up and I will make someone feel the way that they don't want to feel. And they need to know, like, I need to know that they know that that's not what I meant to do. And so I'll just message them and tell them. And I think you can't do that or earn the right to do that unless you have years and years of feet on the floor, man. Like, you got to have years and years of feet on the floor, of time spent, where you just, you're looking at a room, you're looking at kids, you have to have, so many games after a loss. What's the message to the team? How do you flip this perspective from, oh, poor us, to, you mentioned your colleagues 0-5, and he's their strength coach. Like, what is the message to the team that they reverse? So when I had fortunate enough, I haven't had a team that bad in a while, but what on that is, like, you got to refocus on the love of the game, why you do what you do, tying into probably making your parents proud. Maybe it's, hey, sometimes for me, that's why it's so critical I work out. Like, when I'm in strain, yeah, of course I'm thinking about my kids and my wife. Sometimes I think I love being weird, man. I love thinking weird. I'm thinking about my grandparents who are in heaven. They're looking down on me right now, and they're saying, how would my grandson, what's Michael doing right now? And are your actions making him proud? So that, like, shit like that, I have so many just different lessons ready for different moments that, you don't know unless you have that meeting in December. And that's why I'm like so lucky that I'm always going to be a part of a team, because I think a team's so special. Whereas when you do get in that, and there's so many great, please don't take this the wrong way, of like different private sector stuff. There's so much greatness there. And I wrote down like XP, Matt Gates. I don't know those guys, but my school I've just got them a shred mill. And I'm like writing that, and I love all the Dave Speed. So like, I love their shit. And I love so many people's stuff. But for me to get my high, like, it's more than 8 weeks, man. It's more than like 6 weeks. There's a deep, deep, deep sweat, blood, like, you know what I mean? And, conflict, I still remember it. In the college, obviously those problems are scaled, because you're going to have a lot of players that have kids. You're going to have a lot of players that are going through different things. And, at that time in my life, that's what I always laugh. Like, I'm going on 8 years now running my own company. So I haven't coached at that in a long time. But like, if you look at like my bio or who I am now, and I never want to be that coach that is like looking at bios for respect. I want to look at that coach and like have a conversation, see their knowledge, see the way that they carry themselves. I'm like, this is a badass dude. I want to listen to him, I want to work with him. Whereas, like, I remember me and Coach Neal, my business partner, when we were at Southeastern Louisiana and we had that like little tiger out logo. He was at Sam Houston State. Like, everyone was big leaguing us, walking past us, because they were all like Power 4, Power 5 coaches. And that was just a great lesson for me, that I was like, I never want to be that guy. I always just want to be, want to be present, want to be just a good dude, hell of a coach. Like, yeah, that's a good dude, hell of a coach, a little stamp on that. So I don't even know what we're talking about.
It's funny that you bring up Matt, because Matt Gates, because I trained with him when I was going into the NFL. So
I tell you, I was listening to your, man. I'm not going to say like preparation unless I'm going to show up prepared. Like, I'm listening to your shit. I don't know any of those dudes. But I love their shit. So there might be just one little small thing that I'm adding in like wide base crossover in regards to how I'm teaching change of direction that might be a better cue than I've done it my whole life. And I'm like, oh, I like this shit. Let me see if that works. Like, let me write that. Let me message my team leaders that do the demos for me and see if I walk over these cues and their times increase and get better. Like little shit like that's always going through my mind. And then, you know, so that's why how I went to that aspect and that avenue.
But but you talk about so many years in the game, right? You're 8 years running your own company, and then previous years
Mm-hmm.
being in the college sector. Who are you learning from now and helping you with those little newer nuances and everything to
Mm.
continue to help elevate your own game?
I think that's a great question. And I gave you a little piece that I'll repeat again before this is like, I don't mess with any negativity. Like, I don't like, there's the same like 25 dudes that are liking the same 25 posts that just point out all the things that are wrong with our industry. And I scroll right past that shit. But they might give a couple nice little nuggets and I'll be like, oh, nice. Like, I like that drill or I like the way that they progress that. So I have just an ongoing list on my notes that I'm like, literally uh, like there's like you see someone post, like, here is literally like, football conditioning from Wellman and, the science of speed from Talese that you're like, you're reading a couple chapters here, you're making notes. The speed training works guys that, have, like I told you, you want to have undeniable proof for like years and decades that you are who you say you are and you produce results. So when as you're scrolling or you're going through different people and you check different people's backgrounds, I just have an ongoing list of people that I want to learn from in regards to speed development, in regards to leadership, in regards to how to program. And I'm still very connected to the people who are my age that I think do a great job at different. Now they're all head guys, right? Like I didn't tell on this, but like most of my old colleagues are, the head guys at Vanderbilt and you know Wisconsin and the Falcon, like different big time places. The conversations that we have are typically on a little bit of programming and more on leadership. And then for me, leadership wise, and I think this is a great take for a lot of younger coaches trying to learn. You don't need a mentor on a call like this. Like I have mentors, leadership mentors, on different podcasts that I literally have like, you know, 8 different clips saved that I listen to nonstop for a month that I'm taking notes from. And I'll just send that guy a message like, hey, I just want to tell you that I've never reached out before. I just want to say thank you for your message because it's really impacting me as a person and as a coach, and I'm going to pay it forward. Thank you. And I think that's like too many people are like, I gotta get him on a phone call. Everyone's putting out their best shit on social media. Like there is no secret. Like if you really want to learn some people's shit, subscribe to them, watch all their freaking content. And it's the same thing with books like that. I always laugh. Like, I have, a few of my favorite books in regards to leadership and I reread those every year. And you know what I mean? And so many people are like, I'm rereading, like I'm reading, The Winner Within from Pat Riley. That's right next to me. Complete badass book from 1990. Everyone's like, oh, I need to consume more, consume more, consume more, consume more. I'm trying to consume less. I want to consume less. And, of course you read one new book a month, right? Like, and then I'm rereading the things that I've done very, very well. And I'm trying to make those things better, right? Like there's proof in your process of what's working. And when something's not working, like for my company, when we're not making more money, you have to adapt, right? And you're going to adapt in a way that is going to make you uncomfortable because any times that we've been successful, you've been uncomfortable, and you're fortunate enough if you were of service to a bunch of people, whether it's sports performance, whether it's now my main job is internet marketing, like where I'm marketing what we do as a sports performance company, that you ask for help and you go, hey, what do you think of this? And you test, 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 test. That's where like, man, people, everyone who's gonna, want to be a part of your company, Coop, whatever you end up doing or whatever, you end up doing in Sweden, they're gonna say like, I'll do whatever it takes. I'm fully committed. That's what every intern says, right? But then when they show up there, you're like, dude, you got here 5 minutes early when you should have been, 20 and waiting at the parking lot. And you can identify those little things. Just like, I'll give you an example of internet marketing. Like you have a lead page, right? That, converts, and there's certain headlines and certain structure where I did so many tests on different lead pages for the first like 3 or 4 years of my company. I was so obsessed. And it was like midnight scrolling through one famous person's page. And that one guy posted, hey, here's a lead page that's converting at 50% on all niches. And I'm like, holy shit, finally. And I like copied and pasted and it's converted at 47 to 50%, but it was at freaking midnight. And I was burning the midnight oil until I found a way to make it work. Trust me, I'm a full believer in recovery, sleep, etc., etc. But you got to burn those you got to build those calluses first, man. There's a time to sleep and optimize, but there's a time to go. And when you're young, you better freaking go, baby. You better put that freaking pedal to the metal. When you don't have kids, when you don't got anything else, and you better freaking, your identity in the way that you do things, the way that you carry yourself, how hard you're going to work should be, an example of everything that you do, not what you said.
Coach, man, you keep dropping these gems, man, because like we could talk about programming and KPIs and all that stuff, but I feel like that's less important than talking about this leadership aspect that I think a lot of coaches, like you said, younger coaches that get in this game miss on. Now, when you get those younger coaches in, because you say you have guys now that you have in the company that are 22, 23, 24, those super young guys, even a guy like myself, 32, I would consider myself still young in the game, don't have enough qualities to be at a level of considering myself a true leader. What if you had to give three things, three aspects, three levels, three pieces of advice for like becoming a better leader? What would that be for you?
Well, I think before you make a great point, but before and I probably missed this at your initial question, you can't take that next step to really hone in on your leadership skills unless you produce awesome freaking results and are obsessed with the KPIs. Like you have to, now, I'll give you, so everyone is aware. When I started 180 Athletics, okay, and I became just a full blown for a year internet marketer, obsessed with finding ways to get our programs and be of service to sports coaches, sports parents that could get to more athletes like myself in high school who just needed a sports performance program, not a bro lifting program. After a year, I was missing my fix. So I went back and was fortunate. My old high school was right down the block. And I was like, man, I'll just do an off season for him. So I had to kind of humble myself after working at Mississippi State, Texas A&M, Southeastern, SMU. You're working with, Dak Prescott and, Preston Smith, Fletcher Cox, Darius Slay to now these guys who barely, you know what I mean? Maybe one athlete every 3 years, right? When I went back there, they had nothing. They just had barbells, 6 racks, no just jump mats, no lasers, no broad jump mats, dasher system, no team builder apps. And I've always had the approach is with the human connection, how powerful it is that we have everything we need right here. And I truly believe that. And now fast forward 6 to 7 years later, we have the most badass weight room. We have 4 dasher systems. We got 4 just jump mats. We have 2 broad jump mats. We have 18 team builder stations. They just got a new weight room. We just got the new shred mill in last week, but it really, number one is you have to produce amazing results, but the results in those KPIs, and they have to be obsessively tracked, because sooner or later you are going to meet a coach that is new and has done things a certain way that is a little bit different than you, is a little bit different, just came from a little different background. And when you meet with that coach, I kind of messed that up on my initial, how I have 3 meetings with the team. I always have a meeting with the coach before I have a meeting with the team to make sure we're aligned so I could be of service to them, so I could use the same words and vocabulary so that coach knows that I'm to serve them. I'm not going to be the one that's talking behind coach's back. That's bullshit. That's super soft. And that's what a ton of strength coaches do. That's what a ton of sports. This coach is running all this much, this much, this much, this much. When I hear that, what the problem solution mentality that I have programmed in my mind is, it might take a year, it might take 2 years, but that coach is going to know that I care about so much about his kids that sooner or later he's going to start chipping away and giving me ownership of the sports performance program. It is inevitable by how I carry myself and how hard I go that he's going to be like, Kano, just take care of that shit. I don't want to just deal. You got it, man. You know what I mean? And sometimes if that doesn't work out after a year or two, like it is time to step away, like go step away from that. But so you have to have undeniable results that are tracked. Like my young guys that you said over that are over here, one just walked out. He's in charge of a hockey team that he runs our system, and I am very hard on him to make sure that everyone's entering in all their data on their vertical jumps, their broad jumps, or during his different progressions that we are tracking their front squat, the trap bar deadlift, is he tracking hang cleans, whatever he may choose to track during that cycle. He needs to have that up and ready to show the coach at any time, because you never know when that coach is going to ask for it, and it's always going to be ready. And when you have it ready, organized, that's the wow factor moment. We're like, shit. It's the same thing now. Going back to the high school that I used to coach, they got a new coach 2 years ago, and he watched every session I coached for like 3 months. And it's so easy to be like, dude, I'm the pro here. I literally consult coaches, high school coaches like him for a living. That's what I get paid to do. That's what my company does. But he's still there every morning, just watching me, standing in the corner, watching how the guys react, doesn't say much. And I love that shit. And I'm like, fuck yeah, baby. Like, watch this shit. Watch me reorganize. And I met with him before on what he wants to accomplish. And he wanted to make sure he was very big on the body weight and wanted the guys to be bigger with that current class. So we went all in on that. And that's what people have such a hard time on just going all in for a short period of time on what that coach wants to accomplish. And if he sees you relentlessly serve that vision, even though sometimes you might not agree with it, now we do all the shit that I want to do. Now, if you're saying KPIs, we're tracking the vertical jump, we're tracking the ball jump, we're talking, a 5 into 10 with the 180 comeback. We're tracking miles per hour in the summer with a 5-yard lead in or the 10-yard lead in. Then you're tracking your front squat, your hang clean, your trap bar deadlift, your bench press. And now it's not just about like tracking all those things. It's having Team Builder app, which was fortunate. I'm going on year 8 with them, so that you could actually show improvement over time and how they actually improve. So after 1 year, when I had, here's 2000 for him, it was 2022 to 2023. Here's exactly what you wanted. Here's exactly what I got done. And it was everything. Like he gives and that's what when you meet in college, there's an O-line coach that meets with your head strength coach, and typically, an assistant strength coach that's in charge of the O-line. And they'll go over, like, I want him weighing this at this body weight, at this. And you go, yes, sir, yeah, we could do that. Right. And that's, he gave me that challenge, and I said, let's go on the freaking journey. Same thing like this year, the quarterback on the team is a basketball player too. He was 169, really dwindled down, like very frail. And the coach texted me like, hey, dream weight for CJ is 190, by the end of, by the end of May. And I say, awesome, let's do it. You take a screenshot image, you don't tell anybody. And I was very fortunate because he just wasn't training properly, wasn't eating properly. So we saw just a massive growth. And the credit goes to the athlete all the time. He was just so committed to everything that we had in place, meal by meal, day by day, hydration. And literally we sent a screenshot, you sent a video to the coach, and I have a screenshot saved from him that says like dream case scenario 190. And I sent him the video of CJ stepping on scale at 190. And then I sent it to him, and he was like, shit. Like, fuck yeah. Like, there's your dream scenario, man. We got it done. And you just stack those things over time so often that, people want to work with you. They want to serve you. So, the first aspect before you get into the leadership phase is insane results, and you're obsessed with those results. And then that, I want to say, becomes easy, but it should be part of your system. And the guys who just like join your company, they're uncomfortable by it, because you're like, hey, did you communicate with your team that they entered and they saved all the data in? Did you send them the video on how to save the data on the iPads? Did you send them the video of the screen recording on the phone on how they should save the team builder on the phone if they didn't save it in the iPad? And they're like, whoa, 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 whoa. And I, fortunately have videos of all those things. But what my boss did to me in the past, which is frustrating, but it's a lesson. I don't give them access to those videos. I make them do it so they learn how to do it. Right. And then some of those things are like, oh, well, I had this video done. Does it look like this? And they're like, what the shit? Like, you mean I could have just sent your video to them? I'm like, yeah, but now you know how to screen record, and now you know how to, You know what I mean? Communicate via team builder to get a hold of all the people. And then like you'll find that you have 4 or 5 athletes that don't do it still. And then you go up to them before the workout and be like, hey man, I noticed you didn't save this. Just so you know, like, I really care about you getting more explosive and better, and you connect whatever they want to accomplish with their vision. And those little things add to the big things. It set up a new conversation which led to a stronger relationship, which leads to you coaching at a higher level.
It's crazy, coach. And there's a lot of things that you're doing, man, but where is Coach Michael heading? Like where is this journey? Where is this train going? Where is it where can we like what's in hold for the future for Coach?
I think you always want to, like anything, not anything, I don't like to speak in absolutes, but majority of the badass shit that I've accomplished, I've always saw it before it happened, right? Like I have like this awesome office that's connected to my house, and then an awesome gym with turf. It was like a 4-year project with so many different hurdles. You know, my house flooded 2, 3 times with new carpet. You know, the inspector said no on 2 of the things that you're paying for. There was delays in wood, and you just consistently overcome, right? Same thing in everyone's coaching journey when you think you should have got the job that you don't get yet, but you weren't ready for it. So for me now, it's with where my company is, it's creating a more. I believe that one of the reasons that I have a successful coaching background is my ability to spread individual messages with individual athletes. Like Coop, I have no idea if you're one of the athletes that need to be pushed behind the scenes or in front of other people to drive the best out of you. If you could take it, if you don't take it, I don't know those things yet. With my company, I need to get a little bit more information on all my leads, right? So for the company, it's treating my leads and the parents and the coaches that are coming in and doing better surveys and working with companies that help me do that. So I know the difference between Coach Coop 32, who's hyper focused on providing value to more coaches, or, Coach JP, who's next to me, who's 21, who's just learning how to program. Or there's a dad out there that just wants his kid to hit harder, but and gain speed. But that's drastically different if it's kids 16 years old and 12 years old. So it's treating like each lead in each relationship uniquely, which is very difficult to do. But I've been doing my research pretty fanatically. I have a meeting tomorrow with a company that should be able to allow me to do that. That way, I feel that'll create the personal touch that I believe drives performance, right? In the same way, I'll be able to drive, you'll drive sales that way, but the main thing that you have to know is that your programs really provide value to others. So it's not sleazy to drive sales. You're going to drive sales, which is going to drive performance. And in the end, with our message and who we are as a company, it's going to make that coach or that parent feel better about themselves, make sure that they drive, they're better husbands, they're better wives, and they serve their community with that positive mentality. I think that, I always laugh nowadays at a lot of these high school games or youth games. There's so many people who are just yelling things that aren't at practice or aren't. And I always kind of, if you see me at I'm from a huge family, man. I got like legit 60 cousins. My mom's one of 14 on the south side of Chicago. So if you see me at like a game, like I don't say anything. Like you won't see me. Besides chase my kids now. Besides chase my kids, make sure they're not doing anything they shouldn't be doing. Is the only time you see me yell. And I just sit back and I just kind of observe, and I just listen and watch. And my big obsession, if you're like, oh, what are you obsessed with? If I'm at a game, is just like interaction between the coach and the player. I love seeing if they get eye contact, if they're driving, what like really matters and what drives winning. Another great website, What Drives Winning. You got to check that out. About different coaches. And, we all have unique, weird aspects as coaches that drive winning. I'm definitely more of a in your face, swing tied to the message. Like, let's pick up the shovel together and get after that ass. Let's kick their ass, whereas some people take offense to that. Some coaches take offense to that from the outside in, but they don't see the love that goes on underneath the doors, man. That builds the foundation on how much you love their success and how much you value them growing as men and as young women. So I see myself I see myself kicking ass and taking names, and there's no really stopping me besides myself. As long as I'm just being real talk, as long as I'm still pushed and to make my wife proud by my actions each and every day, make my kids proud each and every day by pushing myself internally and to make sure I'm of service to others. There's nothing going to stop me or my company or the people that I serve. Period. And that is daily choices and habits stacked over time that everyone loves to read James Clear book and pound the likes, but no one loves to go to bed at 9 o'clock and write down the journal, then wake up in the morning and, be the weirdo drinking the green juice to try to make sure that you could run a little harder when you're trying to improve your 6 mile time or whatever the hell you're trying to chase right now.
Coach, I fucking love it. But before we get out of here, because I gotta get my daughter to bed in about 5 minutes, we got our last segment, right? It's called the 90-second round, right? It's one word answers, right? And it can be all across the board. So you ready for it? All right, here we go. 90 seconds on the clock. What is your favorite post-workout snack?
Mixed berries, whey protein, slammed 1 scoop, 2 cups of berries.
Mountains or beach?
Neither. Shit. Let's go. You got
cats or dogs?
No, dude. I'm here for winning championships. Cats, dogs.
Fast athlete you've ever trained?
Dude, man, probably Darius Slay was a flyer that I can't take it. I have nothing to do with his success, but I was there while he trained. Put it that way.
Your favorite exercise?
Right now, sprinting, running.
All right. Best coach in the industry?
Best coach, Dan Hurley, UConn basketball.
What is your number one flaw as a coach?
Probably being too hard on my guys.
Would you rather have the ability to speak and understand any language fluently or be able to play any musical instrument masterfully?
Speak so I can connect with more people.
And that is it, Coach. That is it for the day. We appreciate you being here with us today, man. And thank you for all the knowledge that you drop, guys. If you have the opportunity to check out Coach Michael, he is on Instagram. You can reach out to him through there. He's dropping a lot of knowledge, man. A lot of stuff on the coaching side, but also on the leadership side. Everything that you need to know. Coach, thank you for being here with us tonight.
Take care, man. Appreciate it.
And
get the daughter to bed.
Yeah.
Hey.